Hey guys, today we're stepping into the creaky attic of an old Lisbon townhouse. Dust dancing in shafts of sunlight, wood floor groaning beneath your sneakers, and a forgotten cage hanging crooked from a beam. Inside, a parrot with eyes too wise for feathers watches you like it's been waiting. The air smells like time, faded newspapers, candle wax, and clothes. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is over there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're 12, and you've been banished. Again. Your father's voice echoes downstairs, something about manners or talking back or the wrong kind of milk. You don't even slam the attic door anymore. It knows how to slam itself. This old house belonged to your grandfather, who passed away last winter. The attic has become your unofficial exile chamber, complete with spider webs and antique injustice. That's when you hear it. A gravelly voice clear as a Sunday confession. Not again, Paulo. Not again. You freeze. Did someone come upstairs? Then it cackles. Where's your backbone, boy? You turn, and there, in a rusting cage beneath the tarp, sits a parrot the color of green glass and envy. Its feathers are dull with age, but its eyes, those eyes, sparkle like secrets. The tag on the cage reads, Joãozinho, do not let out, speaks too well. At first you think it's some kind of joke, a leftover prank from your grandfather's strange collection of clocks, cards, and war medals. But then Joãozinho speaks again, this time mimicking your grandfather's voice so perfectly it kicks dust off your memory. You don't win arguments by shouting louder. You whisper, did you know him? The parrot tilts its head, preens its wing, and says, better than he knew himself. From that day, the attic becomes your sanctuary. Every visit, Joãozinho greets you with some bizarre wisdom, fragments of conversation, moral riddles, sarcastic weather reports. He doesn't just repeat words, he chooses them, reshuffles them, applies them like ointment, or when he's bored, like salt in a wound. Once, you ask what Joãozinho thinks of your dad. The parrot clicks its beak thoughtfully. Regret has no brakes, he says. You blink. What does that mean? The bird shrugs, if birds could shrug, and resumes preening. Time passes. Your mom finds it sweet that you're so interested in Grandpa's old attic. Your dad doesn't ask. He's too busy correcting the thermostat or rehearsing lectures that begin with, in my house. You grow up in fragments. Weekends with the parrot, weekdays with textbooks and tedium. Joãozinho starts imitating your teachers, then your classmates. Then, strangely, your father. Perfectly. You'll never amount to anything with that attitude. It's so spot on you drop your sandwich. Joãozinho just laughs. Your friends don't believe you. One dares you to bring Joãozinho to school. You try once. He bites your ear and squawks something about public shame and exposure. So back to the attic he goes. But then, tick-tock. It's 2006. You're 18. You have a Motorola and a bad haircut. You film Joãozinho saying, get your life together, you magnificent disaster, and post it. The video gets 40,000 views overnight. By morning, Joãozinho is a meme. He's like the Gordon Ramsay of parrots, someone comments. You upload more, Joãozinho roasting politicians, mocking pop songs, giving unsolicited life advice like, forgiveness is a ladder, pride is a hole. The internet eats it up. Therapy Parrot tells it like it is. Hashtags bloom, merch is pitched. Someone paints Joãozinho in oil and mails it to your house. You hang it in the attic. But the fame, it's weird. Suddenly, Joãozinho isn't your secret anymore. He belongs to algorithms and strangers and react videos. You start recording less, visiting more quietly, just sitting with him, listening. One rainy afternoon, you ask, why do you always mimic my dad? Joãozinho closes one eye, then in a voice too solemn for feathers, because he never listened. You sit with that a long time. Outside, thunder rolls. Inside, Joãozinho begins softly whistling a fado tune your grandfather used to hum when fixing radios. The attic feels smaller somehow, older. Later, authors will debate whether parrots understand language or merely mimic patterns for reward. Some will argue that Joãozinho was just a clever bird shaped by environment, but you'll remember his timing, his tone, the way he paused intentionally before speaking, like a teacher considering your capacity to hear the truth. Once, Joãozinho says, your anger is a fire you warm your enemies with. You laugh. You're getting poetic. He doesn't blink. just replies, "And you're getting bitter." That hits harder than you admit, especially when, 2 weeks later, you and your dad have a screaming match that ends with him slamming a door and you punching a wall so hard your knuckles bruise. Joãozinho watches silently when you return to the attic that night. No advice, just stillness. Sometimes the loudest truths come in silence. You're 25, and the attic is different now. It's cleaner, partly because your mom threatened to have it fumigated, partly because you've started coming up here less. Joãozinho still lives somehow, stubborn, grumpy, and louder than ever. But you're living in Lisbon proper, working late shifts at a copywriting firm that values creativity as long as it's about toothpaste. The visits shrink. Sometimes weeks pass before you return. Joãozinho pretends not to notice, but he does. On one visit, you apologize. "Been busy," you say. He retorts, "Too busy to visit the man who raised you?" You chuckle, but your heart stings. "You're not a man." The bird leans close, closer than he ever was. You flinch. The conversation shifts, but something lingers. Joãozinho's mimicry has changed. Less comedy, more confrontation. He starts repeating old arguments, not yours, but ones between your father and grandfather. Heavy ones, full of Portuguese scorn and unsaid love. One day, Joãozinho screeches, "You dishonor his name with that silence." It's your grandfather's voice. The volume rattles the attic windows. You nearly drop the cage. "What are you doing?" you shout. Joãozinho looks at you, truly looks, and says in your father's tone, "Because he's dead doesn't mean he's gone." You storm out, no goodbyes. The attic door slams like thunder, again. That's the last time you visit for a year. Your dad calls once, leaves a message. "I saw that bird online. Real funny, come home if you can." You delete it. That's how stubbornness wins, by inches. Meanwhile, Joãozinho's internet fame mutates. One of your old clips resurfaces with the subtitle, "Parrot tells man to forgive his dad. Man doesn't, Parrot dies." Joãozinho isn't dead, but the drama goes viral. The comment section loses its mind. "This bird has more emotional range than my ex. Someone get this man and his dad in therapy already." Joãozinho for president. Your inbox floods. Even BuzzFeed reaches out. "Can we do a piece on your healing journey?" You don't reply. Because what healing? You and your dad still haven't spoken. Not really. You see him sometimes at birthdays, weddings, medical emergencies. He tries small talk. You offer smaller responses. He offers leftovers in Tupperware. You nod, then leave. At one point, you get drunk at a cousin's wedding and ask him if he ever wanted to be different from your grandfather. He replies, "Didn't realize I was so similar." You say, "Exactly." He doesn't respond, just looks away. That's the thing about resentment. It ages like wine made in anger, bitter, intoxicating, and easier to sip than spit. Meanwhile, Joãozinho waits. Years pass. You move apartments. You date someone. Break up. You post less. Joãozinho's fame fades, like all things that burn too bright. But something stays online. A clip from 2012 where he says, "Forgiveness is the only gift you can give yourself that someone else has to open." It gets rediscovered in 2023. TikTok digs it up, overlays lo-fi beats, and turns it into a viral mental health anthem. It becomes the background of apology texts, reconciliation montages, and ironic memes like when your therapist is a bird. People start tagging you again. You laugh, then cry. Then one night you get a call. It's your mom, quiet, fragile. Your father's sick. She says the word Alzheimer's like it might break her mouth. You don't sleep that night. Instead, you go back to the house, the attic, the silence. The air smells like rain and rust. The attic floor creaks like it remembers you. Joãozinho is there, older, feathers molted, eyes cloudier but still watching, still waiting. You open the cage door. He waddles out, creaks his head up, back, and says, "Welcome home, boy." It's your grandfather's voice again, but softer, like wind through lace curtains. You sit, you say nothing. Joãozinho does. "You were angry." You nod. "He was too." You nod again. Then Joãozinho says something new, something you've never heard, in your dad's voice, but not mimicked, not rehearsed, just different. "I tried, son. I didn't know how." You blink, hard. "Did he say that?" You whisper. Joãozinho only says, "You don't have to be right to be loved." Then he hops onto your shoulder, nuzzles his beak into your neck. He's warmer than you remember, lighter too. You laugh. It's the kind that hurts your chest. The next morning, you visit your dad. He doesn't remember your name at first. Then Joãozinho squawks, "Where's your backbone, boy?" Your dad's eyes sparkle, just briefly. He laughs, says, "I taught that to your grandfather." You both chuckle, then fall silent. The silence isn't heavy this time. You hand your dad the cage. Joãozinho steps in. Your dad whispers something to him. Later, you ask what he said. Joãozinho squints at you. Should have listened sooner. For the first time in years, you cry in front of your father. He holds your shoulder. Not tightly, but enough. Enough to say, this doesn't fix everything, but it starts something. Authors still debate whether parrots understand memory, whether they store emotional context or simply repeat sounds tied to triggers. But Joãozinho doesn't just echo, he reminds. He gives you back the pieces. He gives your father something too. That night, you record one last video. No jokes, no edits, just Joãozinho perched between you and your dad, quiet. Then your father speaks. Forgiveness doesn't need an audience, but sometimes it helps. Joãozinho chirps. The video gets posted. It doesn't go viral. It goes nuclear. CNN calls. YouTube's most emotional clip of the year. You get invited to morning shows or podcasts. Even a TEDx talk. You decline, because none of them were there the day Joãozinho whispered the truth in your father's voice. Try again. It's not too late. The third time your father forgets your name, it hits you like a car slowing at the wrong stoplight. Not the crash, just the inevitability. His eyes are still kind, still curious, but they search your face like someone trying to remember a password they never wrote down. You don't correct him anymore. Instead, you tell stories, mostly old ones, about the time he fixed the plumbing with chewing gum and a prayer, or how he used to iron shirts with more care than surgeons. He laughs like he believes them, even if he doesn't recognize the characters. And through it all, Joãozinho sits near his window, cage open, unbothered by the breeze. He's quieter these days, but when he speaks, the words land like raindrops on a droughted field. One afternoon, you ask the question that's been clawing at you for years. Do you forgive him? Joãozinho looks at you, says nothing. Then in your own voice repeats, do you? It shouldn't shake you, but it does. Because that voice, the timbre, the hesitation, is you. Not a mimic, a mirror. You sit with that question for weeks. The world keeps spinning. Social media keeps asking, when's the next Joãozinho video? People send poems. One guy even gets a tattoo. Joãozinho perched on a shoulder with the words, say it before it's too late. It's beautiful. It's weird. It's too much. So you stop posting. Your father's condition declines. Some days, he stares at the wall like he's watching a private movie. Other days, he thinks you're his brother. Once, he calls you father. You let it slide. But once, just once, he looks at you, really looks, and says, you've grown. You whisper, so have you. He smiles. He doesn't get it, but that's okay. That night, you bring Joãozinho in and place the cage beside your father's chair. Joãozinho hops forward, cocks his head, and softly repeats, you've grown. Your dad laughs, closes his eyes, and says, that bird always did know too much. You both sit in that golden moment, warm and quiet and cradled in the hush of a house finally at peace. A few weeks later, Joãozinho stops speaking. You try everything, his favorite crackers, old recordings, whistling the opening bars of his go-to fado tune. Nothing. The vet says he's old. Parrots can live long, but not forever. You nod, but inside, a part of you wants to scream. Joãozinho wasn't just a pet. He was a witness, a translator, a living archive of voices you never wanted to forget. You start visiting the attic again, alone. It's dusty, a little colder. You find one of your grandfather's old radios, tinker with it until it crackles to life. Portuguese jazz spills out, faded and haunting. You imagine Joãozinho bobbing his head, making fun of the saxophone. One night, you dream of him. He's flying, not in the attic, not in a cage, just soaring, free. You wake up crying, but gently, like something has been released inside you. And then on a breezy Sunday morning with the windows open and your father dozing in his chair, Joãozinho says something. One last thing. In a voice that doesn't belong to anyone, yet feels like it belongs to everyone. Let it go. You freeze. He's staring at the open sky, blinking slowly. Let it go. You whisper, what? But he doesn't repeat it. He just ruffles his feathers, tucks his head, and rests. That afternoon, you write a letter. To your dad. You tell him about the attic, the parrot, the pain, and the patience. You end with, I never said this out loud. I forgive you, and I love you. You read it to him that evening. He doesn't respond, but tears slip down his face like clock hands melting. And you know he hears you. Joãozinho passes in his sleep 3 days later. You hold him like you once held your first heartbreak, delicately and with too many questions. You bury him beneath the old lemon tree in your family's backyard, the same one your grandfather planted the year your dad was born. You carve a tiny plaque, Joãozinho, who spoke so we could hear. People online mourn him like a celebrity. You post one last video, no music, just the plaque, the tree, and your voice. He taught us how to say what matters before it's too late. The comments pour in, cried in public again. My dad and I are speaking now, thank you. Joãozinho saved my marriage. Authors still debate whether animals understand our pain, but I think this one chose to. And there it is, the ending you never expected. Not in fame, not in forgiveness, but in the quiet that remains when the echo finally settles. Because that's what Joãozinho left behind. Not just words, but permission. Permission to grieve, to laugh, to try again, and most of all, to forgive. Now the house is quiet, not empty, just quiet in that rich, meaningful way, like the final chord of a song that still hums in your bones. Your father doesn't speak much these days, but when he does, his voice is softer. Sometimes he hums that old fado tune while watering the lemon tree. You sit with him, not to fill the silence, but to share it. You both know it's a different kind of conversation now, one where words are optional, but presence is everything. The attic remains untouched. You still climb those stairs sometimes, just to sit in the dust in memory. You imagine Joãozinho there, head cocked, eyes gleaming, waiting to deliver one last line. But there's only wind now, brushing through the rafters like a whispered thank you. And that's enough. The anger, the years of silence, the regrets, they all live in the past now. Not erased, but softened, like parchment smudged by time and tears. And as you close this chapter, something inside you unfurls, slow and warm, a kind of peace you didn't think you'd earn. So tonight, wherever you are, I hope you can let something go too. Maybe not everything, maybe just enough. Enough to sleep lighter, to love louder, to forgive sooner. Thanks for joining me on this journey. If Joãozinho taught us anything, it's this. Don't wait for the perfect moment to speak your heart. Just speak it, even if it echoes back in feathers.